The opinions expressed on the program you are watching are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of the station. Through our access policy, we provide the opportunity for community groups and individuals to express their points of view.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Jodi Faith Show. It's my privilege again to introduce you to Mr. Ron Hardy. He is a man from the local Moose Jaw area in Saskatchewan. He works with the Angus Campbell Centre. You're on the board of directors there, and I think the best part of what the Jodi Faith Show wants to do is allow people to get to know individual people who are working towards the common good. Angus Campbell is obviously the common good, but you have a personal story to tell about why this is important, why you feel recovery and treatment is important. You've lived it out. Ron, tell the people your story today.
All right. Well, I had always lived in the community of Moose Jaw, and I was fortunate enough, as we said earlier, to get involved with the Angus Campbell Centre before it was ever a centre, when it was just a dream. But it was important to me because I was just starting on my own recovery in those days. Okay,
so you had been an alcoholic?
I had been an alcoholic.
You'd bit of an issue with, like how much of an alcoholic were you?
Well, let's just say it was trouble to the community to the point where they thought I would be better behind bars for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
So this isn't just a little social drinking going on?
It's a little bit worse than that, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, and it was, might strike people as strange because I thought I had a normal childhood growing up. I had a mom and dad worked and mom stayed in the home. And life was pretty good.
Okay.
There didn't seem to be any issues there. And, I discovered alcohol. And, like fried chicken. I really loved it first time I tried it. I loved alcohol. I tried that, too.
Okay, how old were you then?
I was probably about 10.
Oh, wow.
When I had my first drink. There was alcohol in the home, so it was easy to experiment with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, were your parents encouraging you to have a drink?
Oh,
was
no.
it a bit, no?
No,
okay.
No, it was definitely sneaking around. It was,
okay.
Kind of a youth thing to do, and probably a little bit of an adventure. I could brag to my friends about it. And
okay.
Probably most of my friends did the same thing, but for them it didn't turn out to be a problem.
Okay, so when did you know it was a problem?
Well, it first began to show real signs of being a problem when I was in grade 8. I went to grade 8 to get my report card.
Oh, like the grade 8 grads, we call it now, right?
Yeah, now they're grads, but
okay.
they weren't in those days. And I went to a buddy's house, and we drank several beer before we went to get a report card. And so by the time report card time came, it was we were feeling kind of loose and
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was kind of a tip-off there. It should have been a tip-off that there's...
Now, did anybody know that you were drinking like that?
No, actually got away with that.
Okay. Usually that's the good news, right?
Yeah.
For when you're that little character doing all this stuff. Okay, carry on.
But certainly, as I got into my teen years and alcohol became more available,
right.
It became more and more trouble.
Right.
And like I said, I got into problems with the law enforcement, and it was just one thing after another. When I thought it wouldn't get any worse, it would get worse. And when people asked to actually talk to me about maybe having a drinking problem, I just laughed them off. I thought, that's ridiculous. Everybody drinks.
Right.
Especially everybody drinks just like I do. I drink with them in the bar all the time. All my friends were drinkers.
I totally understand that because I mean, this is what we did in our life. Everybody did what we did. This was normal. This was our normal. So I understand totally where you are. Now, how old are you? Are you married? Or like when did the family thing begin?
Well, I did get married. My wife and I were about 20 years old. We got married, and things got better for a while. I had a full-time job, worked on the railway.
Okay.
And things kind of settled down for a little bit, but then they regressed.
Okay.
And I went back to more and more drinking, less time at home. Job performance was poor.
Okay.
And actually the railway offered me an option. They said, you can either quit or we can fire you.
Oh,
yes.
Like quit drinking?
Quit working here.
Quit, really? Oh, no, so your drinking was really affecting your job?
It was affecting my job.
Okay.
And so I opted for the quit. It looked better than being fired, right?
Right. Now, how long, at this point in time, how long had you worked for the railways?
5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but you got a young family?
And I got a young family, a wife and 2 young daughters.
Oh, wow.
And I thought I would take the geographical cure. I went up to Prince George, BC.
It was all because of where you lived,
exactly.
right?
I got a new job, new friends, everything would be fine.
That's right.
And I think I went without drinking about 2 days. And then it was all bad again.
And now your wife is in a place where she doesn't know anybody either.
My wife followed me up there, God bless her, with 2 little children, and I immediately deserted them. It was probably the lowest point of my life to go through that. And quite likely hers too, she might tell you.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're going to get her on to tell her part of the story someday. I don't know, maybe. But, okay, so now you're up in the middle of nowhere.
Right. No friends.
You have no friends, no support, no family system. Did you know, okay, I can't blame anybody else for this problem? Or what? Tell us how this evolved.
And it got worse than that, because soon after I had no job.
Oh, man.
There was some trouble that I initiated at work.
Sure.
And it cost me my job up there. So I was in desperate states. I had no means of support up there, no place to call home. And I came back to Moose Jaw, not knowing what I was going to do, where I was going to do it, but at least this was home.
Okay. I just want to interject a little bit, because in my experience, during those seasons in our lives, there's absolute hopelessness.
Yes.
Now, did you deal with a little bit of mental illness or suicidal thoughts or any of that? Like, because I know in my experience, meeting people who've struggled with substance abuse, that becomes kind of almost a daily thought, you know? Like, were you there yet or no?
I was there. In fact,
Okay.
I had sought out a psychiatrist in Prince George, and I didn't feel there was any benefit to pursuing that, but I was definitely having suicidal thoughts, and I'd like to think that I wasn't really that close to performing that, to carrying that out, but the thoughts were there.
And that place of hopelessness.
Right, absolute hopelessness.
And I mean, I can understand that's why you would get involved in someone like Angus Campbell's project, because there's hope to be found there, no?
For sure. Well, when I came back home, I found unexpected hope. From hopelessness to hope, in that I ran into a fella who was in a recovery program.
Oh, somebody that you knew from your past?
I didn't know him at all, but he seemed like a good guy because he was living above the bar. And I thought, he must be a really good guy if he lives above the bar. Yeah. Plus, he was separated. And I was separated.
Oh, okay. So your marriage was actually broken up a little bit at that point.
Just on the ropes, yeah.
Okay.
So, and I had an opportunity to meet with him, and through his initiative, we met and formed a friendship. He told me a lot about himself, didn't ask me too much about myself. He told his story about how he recovered. And he'd been in recovery for about 5 years.
Okay.
And so he gained my confidence, and I began to tell him about my story. And eventually, I began to think that perhaps I was quite a bit like him. And he was calling himself an alcoholic.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, the A word.
Yeah. And he was in recovery. So that was really neat. I'd never heard of such a thing. You could be an alcoholic and not drink.
Okay, yeah.
So when he presented that to me, actually that gave some birth to some hope for me.
Isn't that cool?
I thought this might be actually what's wrong with me.
So you're actually hearing some other guy's story, but you're actually receiving hope.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, maybe I can actually come to a place of healing, and you were already beginning to believe there was some hope here.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I spent quite a bit of time with him, several days with him, and finally entered into a recovery program with him at my side, and was encouraged by all the other men, basically men, about 100 to 1 ratio, and their stories of how they had recovered and how their lives had been improving.
Okay, very cool. And so isn't it sort of neat? I love this. This is like, I want to get this on t-shirts. Our misery becomes our ministry.
Yes.
Right? From the pain to the purpose.
Our mess becomes our message.
Our mess? Ooh, I'm going to steal that too. You heard it here first. All right, so Ron, tell us, how did this mess become your message? Like, how did, I mean, now you're being mentored by a group of people who are finding some success in the recovery program, and now all of a sudden you're giving hope to others?
Right. Well, it was a long process. It's going to sound like it was pretty simple in a few minutes we have here today, but it was a long process.
Sure.
And you know, bad things stopped immediately when I stopped drinking. All the bad stuff stopped.
Not remarkable, huh?
Yeah, isn't it? And then good things began to happen slowly, much more slowly. And it was a process. But my wife, God bless her, came back into my life.
Oh, and your little girls.
And my 2 little girls. And so that was an enormous step of faith for her, trusting in me, who really didn't deserve it. And some work opportunities showed up, but I did not have a good reputation in Moose Jaw, so my work opportunities were few and far between. But some began to show up.
Okay.
And I took advantage of them and started to become part of the community, slowly, slowly, slowly.
Wow.
Long process.
Yeah, you know, and I wrote a song, and actually I saw it at the Angus Campbell Center, just this statement, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Right.
And I think that, yeah, we're sitting here today talking about the end of the journey, you know, and all this wonderful stuff, but if you were to talk to somebody who's at home right now, who's maybe, you know, feeling as though they, you know, are they going to get out of their situation? Or maybe you're talking to a mom or a dad who's just been hurting horribly knowing where their kid is at. Like, what would you say to them? Extend this hope that you found to them. And maybe do you have some suggestions here in the Moose Jaw area? We've already heard about Angus Campbell, but is there other places that you've heard of that people could connect to some of these recovery, you know, programs? Like, what would you say to those people who need that hope today?
Well, Moose Jaw is a great community. They are everywhere you look, people are reaching out their hands to help other people. Mm-hmm. You can go to many of the churches, for sure, that would point you in the right direction. We talked about Angus Campbell Center for those that are having trouble with addictions. But another group that I'm involved with is a group called Celebrate Recovery.
Okay.
That is wide open for people. You can find us online, or you can find us at the Hillcrest Church. There is just a whole myriad of opportunities out there for people who are suffering to reach out and ask for help and expect that that help is going to come to them, and they begin this process of recovery.
And that's where the hope begins, right? Is that you can expect that you will find the solution, right? You can expect that you don't have to continue in the mess that you're in, right? And I think for me, connecting with you in this community, I've actually already heard your story in the past. I've been actually able to say to some wives of alcoholics, some kids who grew up in codependent situations, like, you know, even though the problem might not be yours, there's a way for you to find strength in dealing with what's going on at home.
One thing I try to convey to people is that the hope is not just to be restored to what you think is good enough, or what you had before, but to be restored fully. Yeah. To take a full part in the community. Yeah. You know, right today I have my wife and 5 daughters, 13 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild. Wow. Active in the community. And it's just all good.
Everybody's healthy and well to whatever degree you're able to be.
Right. Way beyond my expectations.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Ron. It's been awesome to have you here with us. We look forward to more good guests like you in the future, and God bless you in your work over at Angus Campbell.
Thank you.
All righty, bye-bye.
Please believe, hands united.
The opinions expressed on the program you have just watched are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of this station. Through our access policy, we provide the opportunity for community groups and individuals to express their points of view.